control point for the TV industry is the set-top box. So in the paid television world, cable, satellite, and even IPTV, that box in your living room, this is the one in my living room, it's a Comcast box, it hasn't changed much in the last 10 years. I'd argue that this box has actually fallen behind. The cable operators, the pay TV operators, they haven't done a great job of keeping abreast of all the changes that are happening. Because of course, if you take, for instance, the last 10 years in game console development, you've seen an exponential leap in power, in computing power. The new game consoles are versatile computing devices, and they're very powerful. The Xbox 360, the PlayStation 3, and so forth. These are highly versatile devices that can do a tremendous amount, and they're networked, so they are engaged in this two-way activity that we talk about. This set-top box doesn't really perform in the exact same way. And now a whole new generation of devices have emerged in the market. There's Boxee, there's a number of small devices that have come out. The Apple iTV, it's about the size of a hockey puck. These are incredibly energy efficient devices. They use about 1% of the power of that cable set-top box. By the way, your cable box is the second most energy consuming device in your house after your refrigerator. So it's not only a clunky device that's outdated and has low processing power, it's also incredibly energy efficient. It's like the most ungreen thing in your house. These devices are highly efficient. And they route right around the cable network, and they allow people to directly access internet content. If you bought one of these devices, you know it takes about 5 minutes to set it up. It's just not hard to set up. It's not like setting up a computer back in the old days. You take the thing out of the box, you plug it into the HDMI cable, it finds your Wi-Fi signal automatically, connects to it. All you basically have to do is plug it in and you're surfing the web. And so this is enabling people to route around the control point of the set-top box. And of course Google is making tremendous strides. Perhaps the most important company in this ecosystem because they have the power to rewrite the rules of the advertising business. And with the acquisition of Motorola, not just a major phone company, but also a major maker of set-top boxes in the United States. And previously, Google had acquired a company called Sage TV that designs Linux set-top boxes. And now, of course, they've got the Honeycomb operating system for all their devices that are not computers. They're going to probably apply that. It's reasonable to assume they'll apply that. And you'll start to see very versatile devices coming from Motorola and Google in the near future. And these devices will most likely take advantage of the two-way network in a way that set-top boxes traditionally never did. What all these new devices have in common that makes them very different from a set-top box is that they have this telephone element built into them. And I don't mean this. I don't mean the old black and white, the black telephone that you see here. But what I really mean is what this represents, access to a two-way network. This is a fundamental shift. This is a gigantic change because it means that we can connect with each other. And it also enables an entirely different business model. The business model of the internet is very different from traditional media businesses. Media businesses are about pushing content out and keeping it scarce and making people pay every time they watch. Internet businesses are very different. Internet businesses are about exchanges. So they work like switchboards. That's where my telephone metaphor fits in. They're like an exchange, just like this, where a person at a switchboard is connecting someone. You know, the caller is being connected to somebody in another home. And so we see many examples of this. Every successful business on the web, whether it's eBay or Google or Amazon or even Wikipedia, every successful business on the internet works like a kind of switchboard. It connects buyers and sellers. It connects people seeking information with people who are providing information. It connects people who want to buy, McDonald's collectibles with people who happen to have those in their collections. Whatever it may be, as obscure as it may be, the most successful businesses on the internet are the ones that are most efficient at matching buyers and sellers, or seekers and providers together. So the business model for the internet, for the two-way network, is about exchange. It's about a market. The business model for traditional media is a channel. A channel is controlled, a channel has limited content, limited choices. It's about restricting choice. An exchange gives you unlimited choice, and the most successful businesses on the web and in the two-way network give you unlimited choice. Now, the companies that I'm referring to here are in the process of greatly expanding the scope of their business. Where they traditionally focused on one or more segments, now they're able to take their platform and extend across multiple businesses. So, they are now starting to create marketplaces, not just for information, the way, say, Google or Bing did in the past, but they're also creating marketplaces for identity, for your attention, and with social media, marketplaces for relationships. Your social graph has become actually a thing of value that companies that can buy and sell like a commodity. These are business models that simply didn't exist in the one-way world, in the broadcasting world, but they are very much the heart of the business opportunity today. This is where things are moving. Now this presents a tremendous conundrum for companies that were optimized for one-way distribution and scarce content businesses. Because really what they're working in is a marketplace. A marketplace that is ruthlessly efficient in matching buyers and sellers at the best possible price in the most efficient way. Here's a simple diagram that illustrates how TV worked in the past. You had lots of content suppliers, cable channels and broadcasters, and lots of viewers, and right in the middle of the net, right in the middle, was a cable company, or our pay TV company, a satellite company. Remember, in the United States today, about 90% of our homes get their video from pay TV, either from cable, satellite, or IPTV from the telephone companies. So only less than 10% of the US households get their video over the air from broadcasting. So most of us, the great majority of us, live in this world where there's a pinch point, a value control point right in the middle, and that's the set-top box in your home. That box restricts your access. It's actually a control point that determines what you get to see and when you get to see it, and you have to pay. That's been historically the value control point, but as I just illustrated, there are a number of new devices coming that enable people to connect to the internet and go to those information marketplaces I just described and bypass that. And so as a result, the power here is eroding, and it's eroding very, very quickly. Until last year, the cable companies would insist that they had seen no demise, no diminishment in their subscriber numbers, that TV viewers were watching more video than ever. You would hear them noisily protest claims about people switching or dropping or cutting the cord. Now we're starting to see the evidence come in, because it's clear that about 1% of the cable subscribers and the pay TV subscribers canceled their subscription last year. It looks like those numbers will increase to about 5% in the next 2 years, and it could go as high, some analysts say, as 10%. Well, once that progression starts to happen, you've seen what has happened in other fields. You'll start to see larger and larger percentages of people. That pay TV sphere is going to begin to shrink to itself. So they lose control here, which means that there's a new opportunity to re-aggregate business. But if the business model is not about channels and about markets, then it means there'll be new value control points erected, new ways to control people and extract value. I've identified 4. You may find others. But for the purpose of today, I'm going to describe these 4. The new value control points are not about restricting access to content. They're about making content available, but they are about controlling the tools to create content, the ways we discover and share, that's where social media fits in, why it's so important, the ways that we monetize content, and the ways that we consume it. And Exhibit A for me, as it must be for everybody, is Apple. If you take a look at Apple, of course they've done a brilliant job of introducing new devices for consumption. And connected to those devices is first the operating system, and then of course the cloud, right? So gradually they're building this broad network for media distribution, media content. They're brilliant at monetizing. They've got about 250 million people purchasing content through iTunes. So they have a vast number of people with an annuity billing relationship, far greater, and an order of 10 times the size of any pay TV enterprise in the world. So they have this gigantic buying public. Now up here at the top, Apple is great at creating tools for creation. And so they have enabled everybody who buys one of their devices to create content easily and share it. And of course they also have the Safari browser, and they've got mail. So they have some tools for content discovery. I would not say that social media has been a strength of Apple's. And that's why with the new release of OS Lion, their new OS, they've partnered with Twitter. They've integrated Twitter deeply into it. There's a little friction, as you'll see in a moment, with Facebook, and so they haven't necessarily partnered directly with Facebook. Apple does have a nascent social media network in Ping, and I can expect that they'll start to grow that over time. They'll invest resources to grow that. But now take a look at another company. You can apply this analysis to just about every leading company in the digital media sphere today. So take a look at Amazon. We always overlook Amazon. When we think about the big players in digital media, we tend to think of Apple, we tend to think about Google, we tend to think about Microsoft, but we always overlook Amazon. Don't forget, Amazon sells more media. They sell more fixed media than any company on the planet. So they are a major retailer for media. And as a result, it wasn't difficult for Amazon to cobble together an online streaming video offer to rival Netflix. They did it very, very swiftly. It's called Amazon Instant Video. And of course, it was straightforward, right? Amazon went to all their partners in the movie studios and TV companies and said, hey, we already sell a lot of your DVDs. We already sell a lot of music. We'd like to create a streaming video business. How about we get those rights as well? And they picked them up, and in a matter of weeks, they were able to launch a rival to Netflix. Very powerful move. If you're a subscriber to Amazon Prime, you get access to that video service for free. Amazon also makes devices with the Kindle, and there are a lot of rumors about the new devices that they're going to create with Samsung, these Android-powered tablets that will obviously be designed to compete with the iPad. Amazon has tremendous infrastructure, web services for hosting and distribution of content, so they've got this incredible infrastructure. And again, that's not something that consumers see often, but anybody who's starting a digital business has to take that into account because it's a way to offload a lot of your startup costs on Amazon. So they have built infrastructure that can scale massively. And of course, they're the masters of monetization. Facebook, obviously strong in social media. Arguably, Facebook is the pioneer. They're certainly the leader in social discovery. The idea that there's other ways to find content besides searching for what you're looking for. The idea that what your friends are looking for is probably more likely to be something you'd be interested in than whatever's recommended to you by a programming service or by a programming executive. So Facebook is the leader in social media. They don't have a browser, but they do have a very tight partnership with Rockmelt. They have a full integration with the Rockmelt browser. They also have great tools for creation. In 2007, they opened up their platform to developers, and they did such a fantastic job of working with developers that overnight they had thousands, tens of thousands of developers and hundreds of thousands of applications on their platform. Now, so far, Facebook has not been in the device business. They don't have a device for consumption. They are pioneering new ways to browse and search and ultimately consume content. Just yesterday, some rumors leaked out about their new social media discovery platform, particularly for music services like Spotify and Mog. And so you'll hear more about them getting into media because they've already got this fire hose of information coming from people who are on their service telling each other what they like and what they don't like. And so they're starting to get preference data for your whole social graph, and they're turning that into a real business for media recommendations, content recommendations, and so forth. Where it's really interesting with Facebook is how they monetize. So they work with Microsoft to monetize via advertising, and that hasn't really been a significantly gigantic business, although they did double the size of that business in the past 6 months. So it is growing and growing. What's way more interesting to me is Facebook credits. They created their own currency. And it's really the social game companies like Zynga that pioneered this concept, that you would play a game and you would actually pay. You would actually reach into your own pocket and pay the game publisher to get credits that you can use within the game. About half the people on Facebook, so more than 300 million people on Facebook, have played social games. And about half of Facebook's revenue comes from social games. People don't notice that. One way to describe Facebook is to say it's a social games platform that uses social networking as a marketing tool to drive people into the games. At any rate, they have huge numbers of people who are storing up value in these credits, and it's a virtual currency. Some people speculate that Facebook will emerge as one of the world's largest banks, because you have 350 million people who've already stored up some form of credit in a way that is like a bank. Interesting space to watch. Third, Google. Now Google's in so many businesses, it's almost hard to track every single thing that they're doing. I could cover this entire wall with things that they've done. Of course, on the consumption side, we know about Motorola, Sage TV, and Google's foray into tablets and mobile phones with the Android operating system and so forth. So obviously Google competes with Apple on that front, and they're doing a brilliant job of it. With the Chrome OS, they're also getting into laptops, these new laptop computers, a new type of computer that's connected to the web. They do have a way to sell content, Android Market, but that's not really the most important thing to know about Google. What's important to know about Google is AdSense and their incredible array of advertising tools, and they continue to make acquisitions. They're getting into real-time in a huge way. Real-time changed internet advertising. The real-time exchanges, the ability to buy attention right where it is, right at the moment where people are looking at content, that will totally upend the television business. When TV shifts from upfronts, which is how we've been doing TV sales for the last 50 years, when we shift away from that business into a business where you can buy audience and attention in real time, that will be an irrevocable change. That will be a tremendous change. And Google is coming in hard into the TV business now. It's not just through set-top boxes. YouTube is spending an estimated $500 million to acquire premium content. So they're migrating away from this user-generated content, and now they're going to have a premium offer on top of that. And they will very much compete with the pay TV services. Google, of course, understands the importance of social discovery. They're the leader in search, no doubt about it, so they have that piece of discovery down. But social has not really been a strength, and that's why they've made this concerted effort to get into social networking and social media through Google+. It's early days. The app has had some mixed reviews. It's still very much a beta product. But bear this in mind. Google launched it as a closed beta invitation only, and within a couple of weeks, about 10 days, they had 10 million people sign up for Google+. It's by far the fastest growing beta product launch ever in history. That's how fast this beast can move. When you control all the points of the value equation, you can decide where to take your margin. That's what's important about these diagrams that I'm showing you. These are really simplified, greatly simplified diagrams of very complex businesses. But the point I'm trying to make is that if you control all four value control points, you can decide where to monetize. It might be in virtual currency. It might be by selling content. It might be by selling hardware, and you kind of commoditize the content in order to drive hardware sales. Many people levy that accusation at Apple. At any rate, these platforms were built to scale to hundreds of millions of users. Facebook with almost 800 million users. Google aiming for the billion user mark. Estimated now that they're getting 1 billion visits a month. These companies are designed to scale to worldwide audiences. No media company on the planet can operate with that level of scale. So this is actually quite a formidable challenge to the traditional media companies.